You don't get far before you hit somebody. At 1.8 meters, a grave. You have already dug past everyone buried in the Western world. At 4 meters, the tomb of Tutankhamun, undisturbed at that depth for 3,000 years. At 6, you drop below the range of every metal detector on Earth. At 12, the deepest burrow any animal digs, belonging to the Nile crocodile. At 20 meters, you break into the Paris catacombs, where the bones of 6 million people were moved when the city's graveyards overflowed. 20 meters down, and you've passed 2 graveyards. At 40 meters, the floor of the deepest swimming pool in the world. Step off the edge, and you'd fall for 3 seconds. At 100, where governments bury nuclear waste, on the assumption that nothing down there comes back up. 5 meters below, the deepest metro station on Earth, in Kiev. At 122, the deepest root any plant has grown, a fig tree in South Africa. At 220, the bottom of the Congo, the deepest river in the world. At 240, the deepest railway tunnel, under the sea between Honshu and Hokkaido. At 287, the deepest road tunnel in Norway, with cars in it. At 305 meters, you drop below the reach of an Earth-penetrating nuclear warhead, the first line you cross where being underground actually protects you. And at 392 meters, something remarkable, the Woodingdean Well in England. 400 meters straight down, every centimeter dug by hand, men with picks and candles in a shaft barely wider than their shoulders for 4 years, finishing in 1862. It is still the deepest hole humans have ever made with their arms. Below that, the ground stops being something you dig and becomes something you fall into. At 603 meters, the deepest vertical drop inside a cave, further than the height of One World Trade Center, with 11 seconds to think about it. At 700, where 33 Chilean miners were trapped for 69 days. At 970, the Bingham Canyon mine in Utah, the deepest hole that still has open sky above it. You could stand the tallest building in the world in the bottom of it. At 1,410 meters, a Finnish band played the deepest concert ever performed. At 1,642, the bottom of Lake Baikal. At 1,857, the deepest point of the Grand Canyon. At 2,200, the floor of the deepest known cave on Earth. At 3,132 meters, the bottom of the Moab Kotsong mineshaft in South Africa. The lift takes 4.5 minutes. Falling takes 25 seconds, long enough to receive a phone call and miss it. At 3,600 meters, you find something alive. A worm, living in water inside solid rock. Scientists named it after a demon. At 4,000, the bottom of the deepest mine on Earth, where the rock sits at 66 degrees. This is as deep as human beings go. Below this, nobody has ever stood. At 6,000, the thickness of the crust under the ocean. At 8,848, the height of Everest, flipped upside down. At 10,994, the bottom of the Mariana Trench. At 11,887, you are as far below the ground as a passenger jet flies above it. And at 12,262 meters, the Kola Superdeep Borehole in northern Russia. 20 years of Soviet drilling. Nothing has ever gone further straight down. That's it. That's everything. Every mine, every tunnel, every grave. 12 kilometers. The center is 6,371 kilometers away. We have traveled 0.2% of the distance. If the surface were Lisbon and the center were Astana, all of human history has walked to the end of the street. And Kola didn't stop because we lost interest. The first problem was heat. Geologists expected 100 degrees. They found 180. Steel softens, drill bits blunt in hours, and the next stage would have hit 300. And that is still the crust. The center sits at 5,000 degrees, the surface of the sun. But say you solve the heat. You still lose because of the part almost nobody knows about. Down there, rock stops behaving like rock. Under enough heat and pressure, stone stops being brittle and starts to flow. Slowly, like stiff putty. It doesn't crack, it creeps, which means the hole began closing behind the drill. They weren't fighting rock, they were drilling through something that was healing. Every time they hauled the drill up to change a bit, the walls crept in while it was out. They lost an entire branch of the hole and had to start again, higher up. You cannot dig a tunnel through a material that refuses to stay a tunnel. The money ran out in 1992, along with the Soviet Union. The deepest hole human beings have ever made is now a rusted cap in the snow, bolted shut, 23 centimeters across. But here's the real answer, and it isn't the one you're expecting. We are never getting down there. And it doesn't matter, because we already know what's there. We never needed a hole. We needed earthquakes. Every large earthquake sends waves through the whole planet. There are two kinds. One travels through liquid, the other cannot. So put seismometers across the world, time every arrival, and watch where they never arrive at all. The inside of the Earth shows up as shadows. In 1936, a Danish seismologist named Inge Lehmann found waves from a New Zealand earthquake, arriving where they had no business arriving. She worked her data by hand, on cards she kept in cardboard boxes that used to hold oatmeal. And from those cards, she worked out that the core was not one thing. There was something solid inside the liquid, a ball of iron at the center of the planet. She was right. She found the inner core without leaving her desk. And the part we can't reach is the part that keeps us alive. That liquid core is churning, and moving iron generates a magnetic field, the one deflecting the solar wind that would otherwise strip the air off this planet. Mars had a field like that. Its core cooled, the churning stopped, and the atmosphere went with it. So we never drilled to the center of the Earth because we can't. The heat destroys anything we send, the pressure crushes it, and the rock closes the hole behind us. But also because we didn't have to. A woman with a box of index cards mapped a core she would never see and got it right. It is the nearest place in the universe that no human being will ever stand, and you are standing on the roof of it right now.